It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new episode of The Wise Lemon, and I am your host, Zade Eldomiaty. Welcome back. It's another week. It is a beautiful morning here in Chicago, and not because it is sunny, but because it is raining, and I love the rain. I intentionally sleep with my windows open because the sound of rain, I think, is one of the most beautiful things on this planet. I'm a huge fan of nature. I went to school at App State University in Boone, North Carolina, and one of the reasons, the main reason why I went to that school is I still recall one of the handful of schools I actually went to a physical orientation with. My mom was with me. Shout out to Gigi. And as soon as you get to the mountains and as soon as you step outside and you see the campus, for those who don't know, western part of North Carolina, mountainous region, and the Appalachian Mountain Range, one of the oldest mountain regions in the world, and it is stunning. Small town, but couldn't be prettier, and I knew when I touched down there for the first time, I was like, I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time here. I've always loved being outside, hiking, snowboarding, playing soccer, whatever the case may be. I always felt, and you might be catching that on the mic, we got a rainstorm in the back, but that's always been my favorite. I always loved that, and there's something about being connected to nature that I've always found to be incredibly rewarding. And I mean, there's several examples of why it's beneficial. One, just off the top of my head, I've always loved trees. Trees are beautiful, beautiful. And they come in just so many different shapes and sizes, and they adapt to their environments, and they bring us with like fresh oxygen. What a tree is, and what a tree means to me is quite a bit. You walk by it every day, you cannot really think about it, but they are core pillars of this planet. They help become the lungs of this planet, or function as the lungs of this planet, and I appreciate them. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about nature, and I'm talking about the weather, is as time has gone on and as technology has progressed, we as humans have found ourselves to be a little bit, I'm not going to say disconnected, there's a little bit more space than there ever has been between people and knowing where their food comes from, or people just generally spending time outside. And for me, in my experience on this planet, every time I've been outside, and being outside has never been a bad idea. Your body rewards you. It's natural. If I can be barefoot with no shirt on a vacation, that's a good vacation. And it's easy to do that when you're in nature and you're having a great time and you're enjoying the company of your friends. And I just encourage people to get outside. Step outside. Go for a walk. It doesn't even need to be going to the beach or doing a hike in the mountains. Any time is better than no time outside. Do it. And there's incredible things that come along with it. I was mentioning the trees. There's this practice called Shirin-yoku in Japanese. It's called forest bathing. And it was literally doctors that prescribed to their patients to go outside and sit among the trees. And what would that do? It would lower their cortisol, which is closely tied to stress in the human body and the experience of stress in the human body. And it allows you to be joyful, to find peace, and it's a gift. You know, there's a lot of great things you could do for your health, but you may not necessarily hear about them because nobody makes money from them. One of them being fasting. Fasting is that way too. There's so many incredible benefits when it comes to fasting, but you don't talk about it. It's not advertised because nobody makes money when you're not eating or drinking anything. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. But I digress. Just wanted a little up top about nature, the beauty of nature and what comes along with it. But I also wanted to talk about, and this is going to be a good transition to the topic today, is emotions. I am an emotional person. I've always been an emotional person. Is that always easy? No. A lot of the times it's actually very difficult. But a lot of the times it's beautiful too. Because when you're an emotional person, yes, sometimes you get sad, but sometimes you get real happy too. And in my life, I'd rather be passionate than indifferent. And I always viewed it as a strength, which I think helps because, as I mentioned before in previous episodes, your mentality dictates your reality. But at the same time, recognizing I do have blind spots. I do have gaps. And something that I've heard and that I try to keep in mind is, You aren't your emotions, you simply experience your emotions. And the idea that certain emotions aren't inherently bad, right? If I hurt my shoulder, I'm going to have pain in my shoulder because my body is healing that part of my anatomy, and it needs to focus some energy there. If I feel uncomfortable, sad, or upset for some sort of way, does that feel good? No. But is that telling me something? Absolutely. And trying to find the core of the why to the emotion, I think, is crucial, because then you can understand it, you can acknowledge it, and then you can move on. You don't have to hold on to these emotions forever. Have very negative self-talk up here sometimes. I treat myself worse than I would ever treat anybody else, and I don't think that's fair. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because I feel like some other people might be in this position as well, where you feel like if I really harp down on myself for the mistakes that I've made, or if I mess up and I really just sit with that and I keep thinking about it, then that will allow me to gain some kind of insight that would make sure I don't do that again moving forward. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't think it's absolutely correct, but that's been my understanding, and that's been what's reinforcing that kind of thought process. And as I've gotten older, I've realized there's a different way to do it. You don't have to do it that way. So keep that in mind. Take it for what it's worth. The emotions, and that's the thing about emotions too, is when you're in it, it feels like everything. But with a little bit of space and a little bit of perspective, if you change it slightly, things aren't that bad. Things are never that bad. There's a beautiful quote that I heard, and I actually couldn't tell you the philosopher, which I'm going to kick myself, but I'm sure if you looked it up, you could find it. But my life is full of terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. We build up a lot up here, and at the end of the day, a lot of the times, you can think through these things. And I'm on this podcast. You know, we sit here and we talk about certain issues, and we talk about certain things, and we try to think through them. And there's a value for that. There is utility in that, but it isn't the end result. Let me rephrase that. It's not the end all be all. You gotta act. You gotta do. There's thinking and then there's doing, and at the end of the day, you could have some great thoughts, but if you don't put them into action, it's almost like you didn't even have the idea. You could be thinking all day. You could be ruminating on things. You could be coming up with fantastic theories on things. But until things are practical, they're purely theoretical. And when they're purely theoretical, they're not really influencing anything. You got to do it. You know what I mean? Sometimes the best thing, just do it. You know, this podcast isn't sponsored by Nike, but if you take something away from this part of the episode, sometimes you just got to take that first step. And ideally, you'd like to have everything figured out before you take that first step, but sometimes life doesn't work that way. Sometimes, you know, it forces you to do things a little quicker than maybe you wanted them to. But at the end of the day, if you're open to the experience, if you're confident in yourself, and you move through the world with a positive intention and a light in your eyes, good things happen. I'm just taking a moment here. I'm just smelling the rain in the air, and it's absolutely... And we're back. Sorry about that. What's going on? And we're back. Filmed a couple more minutes after and realized that my phone storage was at capacity and it stopped recording. So we're back. As I was mentioning, sitting down, taking a break, smelling the rain, and wanted to touch on one more thing before I let you guys go this week. And it's something I've been thinking about a little bit, and something that I think is incredibly valuable, and I think more recently either has been ignored or hasn't had as much value put on it, and that is manners. How we behave. We came out of the caves. We are, for all intents and purposes, an animal like every other animal on this planet. And one of the things that separates us is obviously we wear socks and suits and we drive cars and we make these incredible things and we have thumbs, but it's manners. We have these social rules, these sometimes unsaid social rules that people are expected to, expectations for behavior. And it allows us to see. It's a nonverbal sign of, how willing you are to participate in the society that we've created and abide by the rules that we have. And it's a very just decent thing to do. And I think you see certain examples of leaders in the world today, or just people, especially when they're older, that aren't polite, that have no manners. And it's always, I think, across the board, at every example, a bad look. Never looks good. It says so much about you, and it's more so about your parents too, and about your family, and how you behave, how you carry yourself through the world. You look people in the eyes, you shake people's hands, how you occupy space, you know what I mean, and how you enter a room. These are certain things that are intangibles, and they're very revealing, you know what I mean, about who you are and where you come from. And it takes a village to raise a child, and I want to thank mine, because I love my family. I love my life very much, and I wouldn't be here without my parents. They're my favorite people in the world, and they always emphasize from a young age, you know, the importance of manners. Manners maketh man, and that is the truth. So I just wanted to say that, to put that in people's heads, to see if we can bring it back. You know, let's be polite. Let's bring back manners in a big way. I think nobody would complain about that. Right, and just to summarize, as far as where we've been today, you know, take a walk outside, enjoy nature. It's a beautiful thing. There's no better architect in the world. Take that step, take those deep breaths, enjoy that time, enjoy that space. 2, your emotions. Lots of editing for me, but that's fine. It is what it is. But no, go outside. Your emotions. You aren't your emotions. You simply experience them. Give yourself a little space. Give yourself a little time before you react to these things. I'm a reactive person. Sometimes when I perceive slight, whatever the case may be, the stimulus hits me, I react right away. Give yourself a moment. Count to 5, then proceed. It'll do a lot better. Trust me. And manners. Let's be a little kinder to one another. Let's be a little bit more polite. Let's be the example, the kind of person you wish to see in the world. Manners maketh man. Wise Lemon, episode 12. I love you very much. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next week. Thank you.